No, I feel really great. I love Madrid. It's an amazing tournament.
A Grand Slam winner at the 2026 Mutua Madrid Open did not surprise Boris Becker, who has watched decades of top tennis and dissected the biggest names in the sport throughout several generations. I speak from the heart. That's what I think. You can die if you don't like it. Alright. It was also embarrassing. He was taken aback by a 20-year-old Filipina, ranked 44th in the world, whose first-round matches at the Kajamagica sold out more quickly than those of a number of players ranked higher. You weren't prepped for that plot by the mainstream tennis media, which is precisely why it's important. Alexandra Eala wasn't a champion when he came to Madrid. In a post-match interview on April 22, 2026, she transitioned from English to fluent Spanish, causing the Arantxa Sanchez Stadium to erupt in a way that left Boris Becker's commentary colleagues struggling for context. She was a Southeast Asian athlete who had spent 8 years inside the academy in Mallorca and carried the technical mark of Rafael Nadal's own coaching philosophy. This was something the European tennis establishment had never quite encountered before. This is what no one is actually telling you about that particular time, though. The full tale begins at this point. Congratulations on your first game at Mutua Madrid Open. Thus, we would like to know how you were feeling. No, I'm feeling fantastic. I adore Madrid. It's a fantastic competition. I spoke in Spanish. Now I'm afraid. No, because I am aware that you have an excellent team that is teaching you a lot of Spanish vocabulary. Yes, my Spanish has improved since I've been here for almost 8 years. Yes, but I travel a lot. You have to go back 12 years to the decision that altered everything in order to understand why the Madrid crowd reacted the way they did. Alexandra Eala traveled to Mallorca, Spain, at the age of 12 to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy after leaving the Philippines. Furthermore, this was not a casual enrollment. It was a complete immersion in the Spanish style of tennis, which is based on the mastery of strong topspin on clay, physical stamina, and tactical patience. Additionally, it was accompanied by a particular pedigree. Eala's academy coach, Joan Bosch, is directly related to former world number 1 Carlos Moya. Eala was regarded by the academy's personnel as a unique project, a player who, in their own words, carried Rafael Nadal's illustrious signature. Eala's identity was altered throughout her 8 years in that system, in addition to her left-handed game. She was more than just a Filipina performing in Spain by April 2026. She was something more uncommon. An athlete from Southeast Asia who possesses the technical proficiency of a Spanish clay court expert and the linguistic ability to demonstrate it in front of thousands of people. At that point, April 22nd came. Clay court, but you demonstrated your Spanish immediately following the game. My Spanish. Are you able to speak Spanish? Have you been focusing on that? I've been in Spain for a very long period, and I studied Spanish at school there, so. One aspect of the plot was revealed by the match itself. Regardless of her rating, Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, a former world number 11 and Roland Garros finalist rated number 116 at the time, entered the Kaya Magica court as a player whose clay experience made her truly dangerous. It wasn't close what came next. Eala disassembled Luchenkova 63-63. Every conversation showed the strategies Joan Bosch and the Rafa Nadal Academy had instilled in her. The clinical conversion of breakpoints in Madrid's high-altitude air, where the ball moves faster but rewards heavy spin, the baseline patience, and the top spin drawing errors. However, the talk wasn't dominated by the match itself. The host began the post-match interview in English, and Eala responded in the same language before switching into Spanish. Speaking directly to the Arantxa Sanchez Stadium audience. She said, I feel comfortable every time I come here. I'm at home. The stadium burst into flames. That was not a linguistic performance for that audience. It was an acknowledgement. Mallorca for 8 years. In between months of traveling abroad, 8 years of Spanish tennis culture, language, and rhythm were absorbed. There was no support from the Arantxa Sanchez Stadium for a visiting. It applauded someone it had subtly, almost imperceptibly, taken on as its own. However, almost nobody anticipated what happened next. Eala later acknowledged that she felt shy and ashamed after her Spanish became viral. She clarified that even though she has lived in Spain for 8 years, her time in Mallorca is actually fairly limited due to her professional tennis career's many travels, and that each return helps her language skills. That sincerity hit home. No amount of media training could have created the warmth with which the clips spread on social media. The Filipino community reacted to the postings with a mixture of humor and pride, half seriously proposing that Eala represent the Philippines in the Seven Beauty pageant, which honors Hispanic ancestry. That was more than just a light-hearted jest. It demonstrated the special place Eala has in Philippine culture. Not only as an athlete but also as a cultural link between two nations bound by a common language and centuries of shared history. However, Boris Becker was sitting in a Eurosport studio attempting to make sense of something that didn't exactly fit his typical framework as that bridge was being celebrated online. The adolescent from the Philippines, Alexandra Eala, won the competition, so she was exempt from playing today. Eala. Yes. Whoa. What makes you say that? Aniko drops the mic. I don't need to explain. How will she defeat IGA? No, I believe that watching her play has been a lot of fun. I adore her ability to seize power and turn it against her. The problem with Becker's response is this. Alex Eala was not at all his main concern during the 2026 Mutua Madrid Open. Becker was focused on Djokovic too and Jannik Sinner, a player he bluntly described as being from another planet. 0, following victories at the Sunshine Double and Monster. Becker was also keeping a careful eye on Carlos Alcaraz's injury status and what it meant for Alcaraz to compete without the support of his longtime coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, a plot point that dominated discussions about the men's draw all week. Eala broke into his lane, even though she wasn't in it. According to reports from that April 2026 time, Becker was genuinely taken aback by what analysts were referring to as the extraordinary demand for tickets surrounding Eala's opening round matches. A player ranked 44 sells out the Caja Magica more quickly than some of the tournament's top seeds when they are up against a veteran with a lower ranking. The term unusual unfolding was used at the location. The ______1 _3 was used to characterize Eala's capacity to produce it. It was unprecedented for a man who had spent decades observing the real power brokers in the sport to witness a number 44 player append the WTA 1000 events ticket sales hierarchy. And Boris Becker was stopped in his tracks by that disruption rather than a title, a ranking milestone, or a Grand Slam run. However, here is what transpired 2 days later, the bit that the viral videos subtly omitted. The round of 64 is scheduled for April 24, 2026. Elise Mertens, rated 21st in the world and the 19th seed, entered the same Caja Magica courts where Eala had just caused a commotion. A clinical disassembly ensued. Mertens prevailed 6-2, 6-1. The figures are direct about it. Eala lost her service 5 times in 2 sets and only won 38 of the 99 points she played. The weaknesses that the Rafa Nadal Academy has yet to address were completely revealed against Mertens' unwavering consistency and defensive accuracy. Second serve. The incapacity to establish structure against a player who never offered a free point and never changed tempo in a way that Eala could tolerate. In what was referred to as a quote 14, former world number 4 Greg Rosetsky recognized Eala's talent before addressing the issue directly. She must develop the physical stamina needed to endure a full WTA 1000 schedule and find solutions against powerful hitters. These weren't tactful recommendations. They were structural criticisms from a person who understands the precise differences between the top 10 and the top 50. And the true conflict resides there. Naturally, we must acknowledge Alex Eala, the amazing global fandom. Take a moment to consider this. Since she was 12 years old, Alexandra Eala has trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy, which is regarded as the world standard for clay court development. She was coached for 8 years by Joan Bosch, a coach descended from Carlos Moya. She is carrying Rafael Nadal's methodology, which is detailed in the ___quotation_16. Her win percentage on clay is 33% as of April 2026. 1 victory every 3 games on the clay court. She's not prospering on that surface. Despite 8 years of the most specialized clay court instruction the sport has to offer, she is still looking for solutions on that surface. The Eala effect is smaller than the difference between being referred to as a special project and truly competing as a clay court force would have you think. However, her next destination on her schedule is the Italian Open in Rome, which was one of the pivotal clay court tournaments before to Roland Garros. This isn't a criticism of Eala. Rather, it's a structural fact that makes her story far more intricate and captivating than a crowd eruption can convey. It also has a clear connection to the subjects that Boris Becker actually studies. Beyond the strategies and the ticket information, Madrid also revealed another aspect of Eala that merits consideration. She has become more open about the difficulties of living under continual surveillance as her profile has increased. Eala discussed the boundary between private and public life in an interview with The National. She based her remarks on the issues surrounding Coco Gauff at the Australian Open, where Gauff was captured on camera shattering a racket during what she thought was a private locker room moment. In any case, the video became viral. Within WTA, there was a significant reaction. The top player in the world, Iga Swiatek, publicly questioned if we are zoo animals or tennis players. Eala took a straightforward stance. Cite 20. She admitted that, as someone transitioning from local notoriety to true worldwide prominence, she now had to deal with the fact that every time she appears in public, quote, 20. It's a remarkably calm viewpoint for a 20-year-old navigating that transformation in real time. It's also important to address a topic that has been making the rounds on the internet. According to viral videos, Eala's performances were framed as a public silencing of a big media figure's reservations about her ability. No confirmed journalistic account of this kind of contact exists. These narratives are precisely what the source material refers to as the hype cycle, in which a rising player's actual accomplishments are concealed in order to generate clicks. There is no need for made-up villains in Eala's real story. The actual difficulties she encounters are well documented, detailed, and sufficient. I went to the first round of her match, which was a difficult match at the US Open, and after returning home, I was thinking about going back because I wanted to see her win because I believe she has a voice and a platform that will go beyond the sport, as well as an incredible head on her shoulders. Eala had originally intended to participate in the WTA 125 Catalonia Open, which takes place from April 27th to May 3rd, after abandoning the Madrid Open. On the day of the opening, she withdrew. It was a tactical call. A return to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca for recuperation and specialized technical work rather than rest. Rome is the next target. One of the final significant clay court tournaments before Roland Garros is the Italian Open, which takes place at the Internazionale BNL d'Italia from May 5 to 17, 2026. The question of whether the Rafa Nadal Academy's reputation can eventually translate into Grand Slam victories is one of the final significant opportunities to gain momentum and ranking points before the French Open. Eala had about $1,882,099 in career prize money as of April 2026. She won €47,195 in singles and doubles during her Madrid campaign. In doubles, she advanced to the round of 16 with partner Zeynep Sonmez, defeating the seasoned duo of Chon Houching and Fanny Stoller before losing to Katerina Siniakova and Taylor Townsend. That run resulted in a 12-point increase in the live rankings and a career-high doubles position of number 87. The crowds are visible and the numbers are shifting. The Arantxa Sanchez Stadium, the viral video, and the Isla effect itself have all documented the Becker shock, but one question remains unanswered. What precisely does Alexandra Eala know if 8 years at the Rafa Nadal Academy, under Joan Bosch, in the Carlos Moya lineage, bearing Rafael Nadal's stamp, hasn't improved a 33% clay victory rate to something closer to 60%? Require before to Roland Garros arrival? And will there be enough time on the clay court this season to locate it?